Time for some midweek chatter. I'm not going to do pick shed or anything, but I'm just going to talk about things that are developing so far in the NFL. The punishment Roger Goodell handed down to New England was stripping a first-round pick and three-quarters of a million in total from the New England organization. It's a harsh penalty. It's probably one of the most severe in NFL history in comparison to the crime that was committed. I mean, I don't know what Paul Tagliabue would have done, but I have to believe it wouldn't be anywhere near as severe as this. But on the other hand, I look at this New England roster and think, they've got a really good team. I don't think they're going to really get upset over the loss of a first-round draft pick, especially since that just means they get to save money. And they can spend that money in free agency to make up the difference. So, in the end, you're not hurting them as much as you think, especially since they have a second first-rounder. And I don't think they care about the money. They got so much money, they don't even know what to do with all of it. Like I said, you would have had to take away millions on millions of dollars to register, in my opinion. So, that said, I applaud Goodell. It was a solid punishment. And it does, in the end, I'm sure New England will suffer because of this, but I don't think it's adequate, especially considering that there have been claims, maybe nothing confirmed, but there has been some hearsay concerning New England having done this in the past. And I believe it. I fully believe it. So, we'll see how that turns out. Obviously, right now, New England is absolutely tearing the league up. And if they win the Super Bowl this year, it'll be just kind of like, well, whatever, right? I don't know. Couple of franchises in this league that are just, really disappointing me or surprising me. I mean, you got Philadelphia at 0-2. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I don't know what the problem is, but I thought about it a little while last night after that really embarrassing loss to Washington, and to me, it's they should have re-signed Dante Stallworth. I mean, he's not a great wide receiver, but he's extremely fast. He can beat single coverage. If you put one guy on him, he'll blow right past him. Unless you're talking Champ Bailey or Terrence Newman, watch him fly down the field. And you saw last night, Kevin Curtis and Reggie Brown could not get open against single coverage. One guy could just shut them down. And that's really where it all started for Philadelphia last night. Unable to get in the end zone, just 4 field goals. Only 12 points in spite of not turning the ball over. Last week we saw it in Green Bay, and now we've seen it in Washington, so it's no fluke. There you go. So, the only bright spot to the offense so far is Jason Avant. I would also say Brian Westbrook, but he's just doing what we expected him to do. Really, Jason Avant coming out of nowhere, playing really well, catching short passes and everything, but that's not enough. You got to be able to go deep in this offense, and Stallworth, well, he's gone off to New England where he's not doing anything, by the way. I don't know. He's kind of useless right now in New England, if you ask me. He's caught 2 passes, 3? Philly should have kept him, but, once again, they're just a little too cheap, I think. I totally respect what their organization has done, but you got to go out there and spend a little more money. You got a great quarterback going out there, and he just doesn't have anyone to throw to. I mean, that being said, I do have to credit McNabb for the loss last night. He missed open receivers. You can tell he's not 100%. He might not even be 75%. I normally wouldn't say this. I usually don't say things like this, but maybe it's time to have a look at Kevin Kolb. And I would only say that if I really did feel that Donovan was doing more harm than good by trying to play. He's going to get hurt again. If he keeps it up like this, maybe it's time to give the rookie a shot. Maybe you want to put A.J. Feely out there. And I wouldn't say this because I've always been a McNabb fan, sort of. Always thought he was an excellent quarterback, but you can see him limping around out there. Something's got to change. And he's got to do whatever it takes to get better for next season or later this season. If that includes sitting on the bench, he needs to do that because the defense has played well. It's forcing turnovers. It's limiting the opposition's points. Um, Westbrook is playing pretty well enough, and while I do blame the wide receivers, McNabb is missing open targets. That's got to change. You've also got like another team that I admit has had a very tough schedule to this point, the Jets, 0-2. In my mind, if you start out 0-2 in the AFC, you're done. You're not making the playoffs. Because from then on out, you have to go pretty much 10-4. And if you started the season 0-2, that implies to me that you're not good enough to go 10-4 in the AFC. But I'm willing to make perhaps an exception for the Jets because of their extremely tough schedule the first two games. If Pennington can get healthy and Thomas Jones can get back on the horse, and that pass rush finds a way to pick things up, well, the Jets could possibly make a miracle turnaround. I don't see it happening, but there are quite a few teams in the AFC that I now consider eliminated unofficially. I don't think New York is one of them quite yet. Let's see, you got the Saints 0-2. Did not see that coming. I expected the world of the Saints this year. I looked at them last year. I looked at them this year, and I just thought, it's only getting better. But I think we might have crowned Sean Payton a little too soon. I mean, he was up in Dallas for how many years? Nobody really cared about him. He wasn't a great play caller there. He didn't lead a great offense in Dallas. And then he goes to New Orleans, a team on an emotional high. And he has a great year. Leads a team that might have had a lack of talent on it to a 10-6 record and a postseason win, so good for him. But right now it's looking like last year was the fluke because right now he doesn't understand something as simple as pounding your power back up the middle. He's giving it to Bush too much. McAllister needs more touches, man. It's that simple. And they got to stop trying to go deep against these teams that are intentionally putting players back to stop the deep ball. You got to take advantage of what you have over the middle, short. Let's see, you got the 0-2 Rams. I think it's pretty obvious is what's going on out there. Lack of a defense, lack of Orlando Pace. Really, the entire offensive line is messed up. So I don't know. Next week they do play Tampa Bay, as I think I mentioned earlier. Imagine an 0-3 Rams. It's looking very possible right now. Let's see. You got the Giants at 0-2. I half expected this because I did pick Dallas and I did pick Green Bay. It's all about the defense right now, and one of their leaders on defense and one of their better players, he's still not in football shape. That secondary has been terrible for quite a few years now. I don't really have a lot of stunning insight to put into the Giants, but that's pretty much it. So far, 2 weeks in, if you'll go check my milestone tracker, you'll see how that's coming along. Got quite a few marquee players so far in the first 2 weeks of the season. I'll go ahead and run through them real quick. You got, obviously, to me, Randy Moss and Tom Brady and Mike Vrabel in New England. A couple of great players out there. I'd also say Javon Walker and Travis Henry in Denver. Two guys I'm really liking. Cutler, I think I said this earlier, but he reminds me of Favre. So he's going to force throws that are going to get picked off, so you need a great wide receiver that can go out and make those catches anyway, and Walker's that guy. Let's see. Got to give big ups to John Kitna and Calvin Johnson, Roy Williams, pretty much the whole crew down in Detroit. I never really liked Kitna that much, but he's doing a great job leading that team, throwing the ball, has a lot of confidence. Gotta respect that. You gotta. Terrell Owens having a big season so far. I kind of predicted this. That's why I took him on one of my fantasy teams, and so far so good. You got Chad Johnson and T.J. Houshmandzadeh, Carson Palmer in Cincinnati. Three guys off to a hell of a start to the year. Plexico Burress in New York. Andre Johnson and Matt Schaub in Houston. Let's see. As always, That's really about it for my true marquee players of the year so far. Just guys that have really stood out to me with their performances. So that's it from me. I'm out.